From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Wednesday, March the 24th, 2021. Votes in Israel are still being counted in its national elections, but at the moment, it appears that once again the country may be in a deadlock with no obvious path yet for a coalition. As of this evening, local time in Israel, with some 88% of the votes tallied, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu would not have enough votes to form a government. His Likud party bloc, together with Shas, United Torah Judaism, and the Religious Zionist Party, appearing to have a projected 52 seats, with Yamina, Naftali Bennett's party, having 7. So even if Yamina joined Netanyahu's bloc, that would still fall short of the majority needed of 61 seats. The anti-Netanyahu bloc, which has Yair Lapid's Yesh Atid as the second largest party projected with an estimated 17 or 18 seats, has a total of 56 seats projected, which includes the Joint Arab List. Now, the Arab Ram party received 5 seats, and they could put either side over the needed majority to form a coalition. It's important to keep in mind, though, that there are still votes being counted, so the situation is extremely fluid, and the loss or gaining of 1 or 2 seats could change the whole political picture. Israel's Central Elections Committee head Orly Adas said absentee ballots, as well as those by members of security forces, prisoners, diplomats, COVID-19 patients, those in quarantine, and more, are still being tallied. She said she hopes the counting will conclude tomorrow, Thursday evening, with a final count by Friday. Israel responded last night to a rocket fired at the city of Beersheba from Gaza. The projectile fortunately landed in an open area and no damage or injury was reported. The IDF tweeted last night in response to the rocket fired from Gaza into Israel, IDF fighter jets and attack helicopters struck a Hamas rocket manufacturing site and military post, stressing that Hamas will bear the consequences for terror activity against Israeli civilians. The United Nations Human Rights Council passed yet another anti-Israel resolution yesterday, 32-6, with 8 abstentions. The so-called Accountability Resolution calls for UN member states to refrain from transferring arms to Israel when they assess that there is a clear risk that such arms might be used to commit serious violations of international human rights law. Israel's ambassador to the UN in Geneva, Meirav Shachar, condemned the continued anti-Israel bias at the body, noting that the resolution makes no mention of Palestinian terror group Hamas, nor does it mention any cooperation between Israel and the Palestinians, and the fact that Israel vaccinated some 100,000 Palestinian workers against the coronavirus, among other positive ongoing actions.
How can this resolution reflect the reality on the ground when Hamas is not mentioned? Hamas is a terrorist organization that is responsible for the most abhorrent human rights abuses against Israelis and Palestinians alike. In fact, to reflect the absurdity of this resolution, it only mentions terrorism and incitement when condemning Israel and does not attribute any responsibility to Palestinian actors. The sole purpose of this resolution by those who wrote it and those who support it is to negate Israel.
Veteran Jewish actor George Segal has died. Segal, the grandson of Russian Jewish immigrants, had a prolific career, beginning in 1961 with a role in the film The Young Doctors, going on to many other big screen roles, including in Ship of Fools, A Touch of Class, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, for which he was nominated for an Academy Award, Where's Papa?, The Owl and the Pussycat, and a number of roles on the small screen as well, most recently in the television sitcom The Goldbergs. Segal died yesterday, Tuesday, at the age of 87, following complications from bypass surgery. The German government is helping to make sure that Holocaust survivors around the world get their coronavirus vaccines, earmarking $13.5 million for the Holocaust Survivor Vaccine Assistance Program, which will be carried out by the Claims Conference, the Conference for Jewish Material Claims Against Germany, which is based in New York. The funds will cover organizing vaccination appointments, getting the senior citizens to and from those appointments, as well as coordinating follow-up care and counseling as needed. The conference's president, Gideon Taylor, announced the new program today, saying many Holocaust survivors are vulnerable and many are homebound. Getting a vaccine can be a scary step, he said, for a Holocaust survivor. Often they need help getting through the process. Sometimes it is about holding their hands, figuratively and also literally. It is about survivors knowing that they are not alone. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Wednesday, March the 24th. At 7 o'clock, we hear testimony from Holocaust survivor Matilda Freund on Witness. At 8, the late Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs and author Tal Keenan discuss the Jewish future in America and Israel. At 9, Irvin Unger discusses the life and work of illustrator Arthur Schick on L'chaim. And at 10, Rabbi Sachs explains how the Jewish people are the people of the book. And coming up next, it's Thinking Out Loud with Micah Halpern. And that's the JBS News Update for Wednesday, March the 24th, 2021. I'm Teisha Bader. Stay healthy. Stay well.